It started, Chair.
Right, thank you very much. Okay, before we formally start, could you just remind everybody what the status of the informal meeting is, please?
Yes, Chair. My understanding of this is that as the legislation has ended, which allowed virtual meetings to make decisions, this committee can, acting virtually, can no longer make those decisions. So as a result, the wording of the recommendations is that the committee is recommended to recommend approval, and then acting under the authority of the council, the town clerk can implement the recommendation that this committee has made.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so any apologies for absence?
I have none, Chair.
Thank you. Anybody else know of any? No. Okay. Any declarations of interest from councillors? No. Okay.
Chair, Councillor Priggen has her hand up.
Right, thank you. I can't, if you could sort of shout out, because I can only see a small number of you actually on my screen. So Councillor Priggen, go ahead, please.
I just wanted to declare an allotment that I have in Roundwood Lane.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Right. Chairman's report and urgent items. I don't have any. Any public questions in accordance with Standing Order 22?
I don't know of any questions, Chair.
Thank you. Now, next item is to confirm the minutes of this committee's meeting on the 17th of March, which have been circulated. Can I sign those as a true record? Would you indicate, please? Thank you very much. I'll sign them up later. So on to item 6, minutes of other meetings referred to the Community Services Committee. I think we just note these essentially. So the first one is minutes of the Remembrance Day Working Party meeting held on the 29th of April, starting at page 5. Is there anything anybody wants to mention on that? It's an important event, annual event for the council, and councillors are expected to be present if at all possible. Okay, moving on to minutes of the Roundwood and Wood End Play Area Working Party meetings held on the 7th of May and the 11th of June. Any comments on those, or can we just note them? Okay, just note those. Item 7, officers' reports, forward planner, resolution tracker and community services committee terms of reference. Do you want to say a few words about this one, Phil?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just to say, as the report says, it presents the forward planner, the resolution tracker and the terms of reference for this committee. Councillor Butterworth, before the meeting, raised the issue of the Rothamsted Park subcommittee, and this has now been added to the forward planner for inclusion as an update by the town clerk at the September committee meeting. And then on the forward planner, any other thing that I note is that the Batford Springs Management Plan improvement works appointment of a contractor is floating at the minute because we actually didn't receive any tenders, and I'm going to try to see whether I can get any feedback from local contractors as to the reason. There's a possibility that perhaps they didn't consider the budget that we offered was high enough, but I'll update the committee when I know what the feedback is.
Okay.
In regard, sorry,
thank you for that. Yeah, go on.
Thank you, Chair. In regard to the resolution tracker, Councillor Butterworth had made some points regarding bylaws. I don't know whether or not you'd like me to spend 1 to 2 minutes just giving the key highlights of where we are with the bylaws review. Would that be helpful?
Yeah, I think that would be helpful, particularly for the newer councillors. I know it's from previous experience. I know it's a very complicated process.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So the current bylaws and reviewed bylaws that we reviewed them in 2019 with the suggested amendments. Both sets of bylaws can be found on the Town Council website under Key Services and Common Bylaws. When that review was carried out in 2019, it follows the standard government model for bylaws, which is known as HMG. There's a very strict timetable for reviewing bylaws, which was followed in 2019, and this includes a minimum of 6 weeks public consultation. But each stage of the programme is laid down and you have to adhere strictly to the timetable that's given. Our review in 2019 was rejected by the Secretary of State. There's a couple of reasons for that. One of them is that we made reference to the drone code within the bylaws. And we have been advised by the Secretary of State that no bylaw should refer to any other piece of legislation or law, and it has to stand independently as a bylaw. So that's one reason it was rejected. Another was they've suggested we get legal advice regarding our aim to put in a bylaw that says that the use of hard cricket balls should be restricted to use on the cricket club grounds. And less helpfully, the letter from the Secretary of State's representative said that there were other things to check, but it didn't specify what these were. So the bylaws review was then subsequently put on hold for 2 reasons. One of them was COVID-19 came along, and the second one was that we had aspirations at that time to take on some other green spaces from St Albans District Council, such as Rothamsted, and we wanted to include those when we redid the bylaws review. When we do that review, which we aim to start again later this year, once we own the other green spaces too, there will be a requirement that St Albans District Council then retract their bylaws, which actually apply to those spaces at present. And when we send our submission to the Secretary of State, the Secretary of State will then write to St Albans District Council requiring them to do that, because he or she can't approve our new bylaws without the old ones being retracted. I think that's all I've got to say on the bylaws, Chair, unless there's any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. I've just before we come to Councillor Butterworth, I've just had an email from Councillor Lineker saying she can't find the Zoom link. Don't know if it's possible to send it to, even though it's a bit late. We
Chair,
could just...
I will just endeavour to do that.
Thank you.
I've just managed to send it to her.
Okay, thank you.
She's got it twice now then.
That's right. Better than not.
Okay, thank you for doing that. I'll just give her 1 minute to join in. And if not, we will proceed to Councillor Butterworth's question. Nothing seems to be happening. Okay, Councillor Butterworth.
Yes, good evening, Chair. Thank you very much. Obviously, I'm particularly interested in Rothamsted Park, and thank you, Phil, for the introduction. Just on the forward plan, thank you for adding the Rothamsted Park update for 15 September. But given that the committee will last a year at least, and hopefully is going to have quite a few things to say and recommend, I'm wondering if there should be updates for the later meetings as well. Or is this not intended to be complete anyway?
Well, I think we can always receive updates. I think that's
Fine. Okay, fine.
I don't know how to. I mean, yeah. I mean, I agree. You know, things happening on Rothamsted are quite interesting and important. So yeah, we'll make a note as to how to do that most efficiently.
Okay. On the bylaws, which is a subject which I don't fully understand, I was listening with interest to what Phil had to say. I see there is actually going to be a review later in the year, which is fine, but of course these things seem to take forever for no fault of our own. I have a related question, and I'm sorry it's not specific to this, but I think it is related. There's an alcohol order about if people drink alcohol in and around the high street or Rothamsted Park, then it can be confiscated. Query if that still is in force, and I think it isn't. And if it isn't, should we remove it from our website? That's my first point. And the other point related to the website, in that I didn't find it easy to find the current bylaws. And I find it impossible to find the St Albans bylaws relating to the park. And I just wondered if they needed a bit of help in adding them again to their website, or whether we put some sort of signpost in our website that what are the current bylaws. So that was really 3 points, please, all related to the what's on the website.
Okay. Do you want to comment on that, Phil?
Yes, Chair. So I'll make a note about the signposting to the St Albans bylaws. The point about them not being very easy to find on our website, I'm not sure how to improve that, because on the tab at the top, one of the main tabs that says Our Services, when you click on that, one of the items in the list beneath it says Common Bylaws, and I'm not sure. I mean, I'll take advice on how I could make it more readily findable, but I must admit I haven't got any ideas how to do that.
Okay. Well, just discuss with the town clerk and let us know. Okay.
Chair, may I ask what was the third point?
I'm trying to remember.
Alcohol order.
Alcohol.
Yeah, my understanding, Chair, from last summer when there was antisocial behaviour problems around the town, I believe that a communication that I read from, which I think originated from St Albans District Council licensing department, it indicated that what Councillor Butterworth is saying about the order not applying to Rothamsted Park is correct.
So, sorry, then my point is, I mean, as I understand it from the town clerk, the order no longer applies at all. But if that's the case, then it shouldn't be on our website. That's my point.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Butterworth. I've noted that, and I'll take that away as well.
Councillor Cowley.
Thank you, Chair. Unrelated to bylaws, but related to greens. I was just wondering if there was any update on the progress of the devolution of Parva Close and Oakley Road, which I know were both talked about last year, but I haven't heard much update since.
Phil?
So Chair, a bit like with the Rothamsted Park, it's a case we're waiting for for information to come through from St Albans District Council. As soon as we have the information that we can check and respond to, then we'll try to progress that as expeditiously as we're able to.
Okay. If you'd like to, Councillor Cowley, if you'd like to drop me an email on that, I will give that a prod at the upcoming policy committee meeting.
I shall do.
Thank you. Anybody else like to raise any questions? Bearing in mind I can't see everybody, so shout out if you want to raise a point.
Councillor Bryan, Councillor Ellis, if I might just add to Councillor Cowley's comment, I think Roundwood and Wood End are other areas that are still outstanding.
Okay. Okay, pop them on the list and I'll chase it up myself. Okay, any other points, or can we move on? I think we just so looking at the recommendations on page 13, does anybody have any further points on that, or can we go to just take all the recommendations in one go, if that's acceptable? Okay, all right, so noting the committee is asked to note and recommend to approve 2.1.1, 2.1.2, 2.1.3. Are we all agreed with that?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay. Moving on to page 21, budgetary control, provisional outturn. I mean, obviously, this has been affected by reduced income because of the COVID situation. Hopefully that should be relatively temporary. And in the next year or so, hopefully we get back to, more normal income from commercial activities. Do you want to give us a few comments on this one, Phil?
Yes, please, Chair. Just very briefly, as you said, this is provisional. And the reason for that is because it is yet to be audited by the external auditors, but we don't expect to have to make any changes because HTC received good assurance from the internal audit. This relates to the part of the budget controlled by Community Services Committee. It is not the full HTC budget picture, which will be going to Council on Monday. The report shows that we are in a good position, but we also have to look at that in the context that there are lots of works that we still wish to complete, but have not yet been able to. So some examples of those that this committee has approved in the past are resurfacing of the Barlams car park, the horse ride resurfacing, improvements, and also resurfacing of the paths around Southdown Ponds. So the budget is in a good position, but there are things that we haven't yet done that we want to do. The key point on the variances, the net position of £294,000 favourable variant is good, but we need to look at that again in the context of that £262,000 of it relates to capital projects. This is the largest variant, and it's not a true variant. It's a timing issue, really, because the boardwalk is about to start on hopefully on the 5th of July, and we haven't yet paid for the new storage depot. So just with those two things, we're looking at over £200,000 of expenditure out of that, what seems to be a very favourable variant. So we just have to look at it in that context, that some of it will be spent, a lot of it will be spent, but it'll be spent at a different time, and it'll be reflected in the budget of the year when it's actually spent.
Yeah. The three things that you mentioned earlier that we haven't been able to complete, including the horse rides, can you just explain why we haven't completed those?
It's really pressures on funding. So the Barlam, if I take the Barlams car park as an example, that was all scheduled to go ahead. A contractor had been appointed from the tender process, and the works were scheduled to happen during the Easter holiday in April last year. And then the first lockdown came along, and at that time, because nobody really understood what the implications of COVID were, the company shut down. And then when they shut down temporarily, and then so the works were put on hold, and we were hoping to finance that. I think it was about £19,000 or £20,000 out of the Common Management Plan budget for 2020-2021. But then it was necessary to review the budget, and the amended budget of May last year then no longer allowed funding for that type of project. So that's why going forward, there will come a point when we will have to review the budgets and see where we can get the funding for those projects.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have any comments on the budgetary outturn provisional?
Yes, Joe, I have one comment.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Just on the commercial income, just a positive comment, really. Just that how it's good that we met the revised budget for the commercial income, because even when we revised the budget back in May, I don't think we probably expected the disruption that we had into the winter and into the autumn and the winter. So yeah, it's down from the original budget, of course, but I think it could have been much worse than that. So yeah, given that we met the commercial budget.
Yeah, I think it's gone well. Any other comments? Okay, I think we're just noting this report. Is everybody okay to note that? Thank you very much. Okay, now on to the blue items. Is this where we stop the recording now, don't we, Phil?
Yes, please, Chair. We want to move to confidential business. I think that on the going right back to the agenda, then there's the exempt business bit to resolve, please, Chair.
Okay, yeah, got it. So this is relating to item 8 on page 3. In view of the confidential nature of the following items, which relate to business matters of other individuals and organisations, the public and accredited representatives of the press should be excluded while they are discussed. This is in accordance with the Public Bodies (brackets) Admission to Meetings (close brackets) Act 1960, as amended by the Local Government Act 1972. So are we all happy to move into what we call part 2? Right, thank you very much. Okay, Phil, you can stop the recording.